If someone told Jada Williams that a single cup of coffee could alter the course of her life, she would have laughed. But life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. For Jada, that surprise walked into Jax's Corner Cafe one chaotic morning, changing everything. The morning rush was in full swing. The air buzzed with the clatter of mugs, the hiss of the espresso machine, and the murmur of hurried conversations. Behind the counter, Jada, a young black waitress with a warm smile and even warmer heart, moved with practiced grace. For nearly 5 years, Jada had been a fixture at the cafe. It was not her dream job, but it was her lifeline, her way of supporting her younger brother Marcus after their parents' tragic passing. Her days were long, her customers often impatient, yet she met every challenge with an unshakable belief. Kindness would always find its way back to her. Today, however, would put that belief to the ultimate test. The cafe door jingled, drawing Jada's attention. A man shuffled inside, his clothes wrinkled, his face tired and unshaven. He looked lost, like someone searching for more than just caffeine. "Good morning," Jada greeted him, her voice kind and steady. "What can I get for you?" What followed was an act of kindness so small, yet so profound, that it rippled far beyond the confines of that little cafe. Jada had no idea, but this moment was the start of something extraordinary, a journey that would transform not just her life, but the lives of everyone she touched. The following day felt like a surreal blur to Jada. She couldn't shake the memory of her conversation with Eric Turner. Every time she glanced at his business card tucked into her apron pocket, her mind swirled with questions. Could he really be serious about helping her? Could this actually be her chance to break free from the daily grind and create something meaningful? After her shift, she sat at the small table in her living room, staring at the card. Across from her, Marcus, her 12-year-old brother, worked on his homework. "Why do you keep looking at that thing?" Marcus asked, not even glancing up from his math book. Jada sighed, running a hand through her curly hair. "I met someone at work yesterday. He said he wants to help me open a bakery." Marcus finally looked up, his eyebrows shooting up in surprise. "For real? Like a rich guy?" "Yeah," Jada said, her voice tinged with disbelief. "But it sounds too good to be true, doesn't it?" Marcus shrugged. "Sometimes good things happen to good people. You're always helping everyone else. Maybe it's your turn to get some help." Jada smiled at her little brother, her heart warming at his words. "Maybe," she said softly. The next morning, Jada's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Good morning, Jada. This is Eric. Are you free to meet today? I'd like to talk more about your bakery idea." Eric Turner. Her pulse quickened as she stared at the screen. After a moment, she typed back, "Good morning. Yes, I can meet after my shift ends at 4. Where should I go?" Eric replied almost immediately, "I'll send a car to pick you up." "Looking forward to it." Jada stared at the message, her nerves and excitement warring with each other. At precisely 4:15 p.m., a sleek black car pulled up outside Jax's Corner Cafe. Jada stepped outside, still in her work uniform, and hesitated for a moment before climbing in. The driver, a friendly older man named Tom, greeted her warmly and handed her a bottle of water. "Mr. Turner speaks highly of you," he said as they drove off. Jada's stomach flipped. "Oh, I don't know about that," she said, laughing nervously. Tom smiled knowingly. "You'll do just fine." The car pulled up to an office building in downtown. Jada stepped out and found herself facing a sleek glass structure with Turner Enterprises emblazoned above the entrance. Eric was waiting for her in the lobby, dressed in a sharp gray suit. His demeanor was friendly and relaxed, putting her at ease immediately. "Jada, glad you could make it," he said, extending a hand. "Thank you for inviting me," she replied, shaking his hand. "Come on up," Eric said, leading her to the elevator. Eric's office was spacious, yet inviting, with large windows offering a stunning view of the city. Jada couldn't help but feel a little out of place as she sat in one of the plush leather chairs. "So," Eric began, sitting across from her, "tell me more about your vision for the bakery." Jada hesitated, feeling the weight of the moment. But as she began to speak, her nerves faded. She described her dream of creating a cozy, welcoming space where people could enjoy fresh pastries, artisan coffee, and good company. "I want it to feel like home," she said, her eyes lighting up. somewhere people can come to relax, celebrate, or just have a moment to themselves. Eric nodded thoughtfully. I like that. It's not just about the food, it's about the experience. Exactly, Jada said, smiling. Eric leaned forward. Here's what I'm thinking. I'll provide the initial investment to get you started, rent for the space, equipment, ingredients, and anything else you need. In return, I'll take a small percentage of the profits once the business is up and running. Does that sound fair? Jada stared at him, her mind racing. She hadn't expected him to be so direct, and the idea of someone investing in her dream felt almost too good to be true. That sounds incredible, she said finally. But why would you do this for me? You barely know me. Eric smiled. I believe in paying kindness forward. You helped me when you didn't have to, and that meant a lot. Now, I want to help you. Tears welled up in Jada's eyes. Thank you, she said softly. Over the next few weeks, Jada worked closely with Eric and his team to turn her dream into a reality. They scouted locations, designed the layout of the bakery, and even sampled recipes Jada had perfected over the years. Eric's team handled the logistics, permits, contracts, and marketing, while Jada focused on the creative side. She poured her heart into every detail, from the menu to the decor. One evening, as she and Marcus baked test batches of muffins in their tiny kitchen, Marcus said, "This is really happening, huh?" Jada smiled, wiping flour from her hands. "Yeah, it is. Can you believe it?" Marcus nodded. "You deserve it, Jada." Finally, after months of preparation, the grand opening of Jada's Haven was set. The bakery was a charming space, with warm lighting, rustic wooden tables, and the smell of fresh bread wafting through the air. The night before the opening, Eric stopped by to check in. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Nervous?" Jada admitted. "What if no one shows up?" Eric chuckled. "Trust me, people will show up. You've put your heart and soul into this, and it shows." The next morning, Jada stood behind the counter, her heart pounding as the doors opened for the first time. To her amazement, a line of customers stretched down the block. As the day went on, Jada greeted familiar faces and new ones, her smile never fading. By the time the last customer left that evening, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Eric stopped by to congratulate her, a satisfied look on his face. "I told you this would work," he said. "Thank you for believing in me," Jada said, her voice thick with emotion. Eric smiled. "You believed in yourself first. That's what made this possible." The overwhelming success of Jada's Haven brought both joy and chaos. Word spread quickly about the cozy new bakery with incredible pastries and a welcoming atmosphere. Food bloggers posted glowing reviews and customers shared photos of Jada's mouth-watering creations on social media. By the end of the first month, Jada could hardly believe the numbers. Profits were far beyond what she had anticipated. But with the bakery's success came a new set of challenges. Jada stood behind the counter one morning, her hands covered in flour as she worked on a fresh batch of croissants. The line of customers was already stretching out the door, and the hum of conversation filled the air. Jada were running low on the cinnamon rolls again, called Layla, one of her new hires. "Already?" Jada asked, wiping her hands on her apron. "I just made 3 trays this morning." "They're flying off the shelves," Layla replied. Jada sighed, her mind racing. She had hired a small team of part-time workers to help manage the bakery, but the demand was quickly outpacing their capacity. Later that evening, Eric stopped by for his usual check-in. He sat at one of the rustic wooden tables, sipping a latte as Jada joined him. "You look exhausted," he said, raising an eyebrow. "I am," Jada admitted, collapsing into the chair across from him. "The bakery's doing great, but I feel like I'm barely keeping up. Every day it's something, running out of ingredients, trying to manage the staff, dealing with customer complaints. I didn't realize how hard this would be." Eric smiled sympathetically. "Welcome to the world of running a business. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. You've got something special here, Jada. You just need to find your rhythm." "I feel like I'm drowning," Jada said, her voice tinged with frustration. Eric leaned forward. "You need to delegate. Let your team handle more of the day-to-day tasks so you can focus on the big picture. Trust me, it'll make a huge difference." Jada nodded slowly. "I guess I'm just scared of losing control. This bakery means so much to me." Eric smiled. That's why you need to take care of yourself too. If you burn out, you won't be able to give your best to the bakery or to Marcus. Jada's eyes softened at the mention of her brother. You're right. I'll try. Over the next few weeks, Jada made a conscious effort to step back and trust her team. She promoted Layla to shift supervisor, giving her more responsibility, and hired an experienced baker to help with the workload. At first, it was difficult to let go. Jada found herself hovering in the kitchen, watching every move her team made. But as she began to see how capable they were, she started to relax. One evening, after a particularly busy day, Layla approached her. Jada, can I talk to you for a second? Layla asked, her tone hesitant. Of course, Jada said, setting down her clipboard. Layla shifted nervously. I just wanted to say, thank you for trusting me with more responsibility. It means a lot. Jada smiled warmly. You've earned it, Layla. I couldn't do this without you. As the bakery settled into a steady rhythm, Jada finally had a chance to focus on her original vision. She experimented with new recipes, added seasonal specials to the menu, and even hosted a community event where local artists could showcase their work. The event was a huge success, drawing a crowd of families, friends, and local creatives. Jada watched with pride as people mingled, enjoying her pastries while admiring the artwork. This is what I always wanted, Jada said softly to herself. Eric, who had stopped by to support the event, overheard her and smiled. And it's only the beginning. But just as things seemed to be falling into place, an unexpected challenge loomed on the horizon. One afternoon, Jada received a letter from the property management company that owned the building where her bakery was located. Her hands trembled as she opened it, her heart sinking as she read the words, Dear tenant, we regret to inform you that your current lease agreement will not be renewed. Please vacate the premises within 60 days. Jada's mind raced as she stared at the letter in disbelief. She had poured everything into this bakery, her savings, her time, her heart. How could they just take it all away? That evening, Jada sat at her kitchen table, the letter crumpled in her hand. Marcus sat across from her, watching her with concern. What's wrong, Jada? He asked. She sighed, struggling to find the words. The bakery. They're making me leave. I don't know where we'll go, Marcus frowned. But you just opened. Can't you do something? Jada shook her head. I don't know. Maybe Eric can help. But even next morning, Jada called Eric and explained the situation. He listened carefully, his expression serious. Let me make some calls, he said. We'll figure this out. True to his word, Eric went to work, reaching out to his network and exploring every possible solution. But as the days turned into weeks, it became clear that relocating the bakery would be a massive undertaking. I don't know if we can pull this off in time, Jada admitted during one of their meetings. Eric placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You didn't come this far to give up now. We'll find a way. As the deadline approached, Jada and Eric finally received a breakthrough. A local business owner, inspired by Jada's story, offered her a new space in a nearby neighborhood at a discounted rate. It's not perfect, Eric said as they toured the space, but with a little work it could be even better than the old location. Jada looked around the empty building, imagining the possibilities. Despite her exhaustion and frustration, a spark of hope flickered in her heart. Let's do it, she said. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity as Jada and her team worked tirelessly to renovate the new space and prepare for the grand reopening. Through it all, Jada's determination never wavered. When the new Jada's Haven finally opened its doors, it was met with an outpouring of support from the community. Customers old and new lined up to celebrate the bakery's new chapter, and Jada couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. As she stood behind the counter handing out freshly baked goods, Eric approached her with a smile. You did it, he said simply. No, Jada replied, her eyes shining. We did it. The grand reopening of Jada's Haven marked a turning point in Jada's life. The bakery thrived in its new location, quickly becoming a cornerstone of the neighborhood. The move had been a gamble, but it paid off. Customers returned in droves, and the buzz from the community spread farther than Jada could have imagined. But just as Jada started to settle into this new chapter, another unexpected twist came her way. One morning, Jada was meticulously arranging a tray of freshly baked scones when Layla rushed into the kitchen, her face flushed with excitement. "Jada, you need to see this," Layla exclaimed, holding up her phone. "What's going on?" Jada asked, wiping her hands on her apron. Layla shoved the phone toward her. On the screen was a viral social media post from a local influencer, showcasing a perfectly framed photo of Jada's famous cinnamon rolls alongside a glowing review. "You haven't lived until you've tried the cinnamon rolls at Jada's Haven. Local foodies, this place is a must." Jada blinked, stunned. "Wow, that's incredible. That's not even the best part," Layla said, grinning. "Scroll down." As Jada read through the comments, she noticed one that stood out. It was from a prominent food journalist, who wrote, "Looks amazing. Can't wait to stop by for a review." The following week was a whirlwind. The journalist's visit brought a wave of attention to the bakery. Articles popped up in major publications, each one praising Jada's creativity and the warmth of her cafe. Orders skyrocketed, and lines wrapped around the block. But with success came pressure. "Jada, we're out of flour again," one of the bakers called out. "And we need more chairs in the seating area," Layla added. Jada tried to stay calm, but the growing demands were overwhelming. Between managing supplies, training new staff, and dealing with an influx of catering requests, she barely had a moment to breathe. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Jada sat alone in the bakery's kitchen. The lights were dim and the hum of the refrigerators was the only sound. She cradled a cup of tea, staring at the wall as exhaustion weighed heavily on her shoulders. Eric walked in quietly, carrying a bag of takeout. "Figured you might need a proper dinner," he said, placing the bag on the counter. Jada smiled faintly. "Thanks, Eric. I don't even remember the last time I ate." He pulled up a chair and sat beside her. "You're doing amazing, Jada, but you can't do it all yourself." "I know," Jada said with a sigh. "It's just, this place means everything to me. I'm scared of letting it fall apart." Eric leaned forward. You're not gonna let it fall apart. But you need to trust people. Build a team that can carry the load with you. You've already come so far, don't let fear hold you back now." Taking Eric's advice to heart, Jada began restructuring her operations. She promoted Layla to general manager, giving her more authority to handle day-to-day tasks. She also brought in a business consultant to help streamline the bakery's workflow and hired additional staff to manage the growing demand. The changes weren't easy, but they made a world of difference. For the first time in months, Jada found herself with a moment to breathe. One afternoon, she took Marcus to a nearby park. Sitting on a bench, she watched him play basketball with some friends. "You seem less stressed," Marcus said later, plopping down beside her. "I think I'm finally figuring things out," Jada replied with a smile. "It's still a lot, but I've got help now, and that makes all the difference." Marcus grinned. "Told you things would work out." But just as Jada found her footing, a new opportunity came knocking. It started with a phone call from a representative of a national food network. The producer, a woman named Clara, explained that they were scouting local businesses for a new reality show highlighting small-town entrepreneurs. "Your story is incredible, Jada," Clara said. "We'd love to feature you and your bakery on the show. It could bring even more attention to what you're doing." Jada hesitated. The idea of being on television made her nervous, but the potential exposure for her bakery was undeniable. "Can I think about it?" she asked. "Of course," Clara replied. "Take your time, but don't wait too long. We're finalizing our lineup soon." That evening, Jada sat with Eric to discuss the offer. "It's a big opportunity," Eric said, sipping his coffee. "But it's also a lot of pressure. You have to decide if it's worth it." "I'm just worried about what it might mean for the bakery," Jada admitted. "What if things get too big, too fast?" Eric nodded thoughtfully. "That's a valid concern, but remember, you're in control. If this is something you want to do, we'll find a way to make it work." Jada stared into her cup of tea, weighing her options. She had always dreamed of sharing her passion for baking with the world, but the idea of stepping into the spotlight was daunting. After days of deliberation, Jada made her decision. She called Clara and said, "I'd love to be part of the show." "Fantastic," Clara replied. "We'll send over the details. I can't wait to see what you bring to the table." Jada hung up the phone, her heart pounding. She had no idea what to expect, but one thing was certain: her journey was about to take another incredible turn. The filming process was both exhilarating and exhausting. Cameras followed Jada through her daily routine, capturing the highs and lows of running a bakery. She shared her recipes, her struggles, and her triumphs, giving viewers an intimate look at her world. When the show aired, the response was overwhelming. Viewers from across the country reached out with messages of support, and orders flooded in from people who wanted to try Jada's creations. But it wasn't just the bakery that benefited. The exposure brought new opportunities for Jada to give back to her community, from hosting baking workshops for local kids to partnering with charities to provide food for those in need. One evening, as Jada sat on the bakery's patio, watching the sunset, Eric joined her. "Look at you," he said, gesturing to the bustling bakery behind them. "You've built something incredible." Jada smiled, her heart full. "I couldn't have done it without you." Eric shook his head. "You would have found a way. You always do." As the stars began to twinkle above, Jada felt a deep sense of gratitude. Her journey had been filled with challenges, but it had also been rich with kindness, resilience, and the belief that dreams were worth chasing. And this was only the beginning. The national attention brought by the reality show had changed everything for Jada's Haven. Orders poured in from across the country, the bakery's website crashed from the surge in traffic, and her once cozy neighborhood spot was now a destination for food enthusiasts. But with success came a whirlwind of challenges, and Jada found herself navigating uncharted territory. One morning, Jada stood in the bakery's kitchen, scrolling through her phone as notifications flooded in. Messages ranged from glowing praise for her pastries to heartfelt notes from fans inspired by her story. But nestled among them were less than kindled comments accusing her of selling out or losing the charm that had made her bakery special. "Jada, we've got another catering request," Layla called, stepping into the kitchen. Jada sighed, setting her phone down. "Another one? That's the third today." "They're big orders," Layla said. "It's great for business, but it's overwhelming," Jada finished, her voice tired. "I know. I'm trying to keep up, but it feels like we're losing what made this place special in the first place." Layla hesitated before responding. "Maybe it's time to set some boundaries. You don't have to say yes to everything." Jada nodded slowly, realizing Layla was right. That evening, Jada sat down with Eric to discuss the growing pains of the bakery's success. "I don't want to lose the heart of what we've built," Jada said, stirring her tea absently. "But I also don't want to turn away opportunities that could help us grow." Eric leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "It's about balance. Growth is great, but not if it comes at the expense of your values." "What do you want Jada's Haven to stand for?" Jada thought for a moment before answering. "I want it to be a place where people feel cared for, where the food isn't just good, it's made with love." "Then lead with that," Eric said. "Every decision you make should reflect that vision. The rest will fall into place." Taking Eric's advice to heart, Jada made some tough decisions. She scaled back on large catering orders, focused on maintaining quality over quantity, and implemented a new reservation system to manage the influx of customers. The changes weren't easy, and some customers complained, but Jada felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wanted every customer to experience the same warmth and care that had defined her bakery from the start. One afternoon, as Jada worked on a new recipe for pumpkin spice muffins, Marcus burst into the kitchen, waving a piece of paper excitedly. "Jada, guess what?" "What's going on?" Jada asked, smiling at her brother's enthusiasm. "I got accepted into the STEM summer camp," Marcus exclaimed. Jada's eyes widened. "That's amazing! I'm so proud of you!" Marcus grinned. "It's because of you, you know. You've always believed in me." Jada felt a lump form in her throat. "You've worked hard for this, Marcus. Don't ever forget that." The next few months brought both triumphs and trials. Jada's Haven continued to thrive, and Jada found new ways to give back to the community. She started a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs, sharing the lessons she had learned along her journey. But behind the scenes, Jada faced personal struggles. The pressure of running a business weighed heavily on her, and she often found herself questioning whether she was doing enough for her customers, her staff, and herself. One particularly difficult day, Jada sat in her office, staring at a stack of invoices. Tears pricked at her eyes as the weight of it all threatened to overwhelm her. "Jada?" Layla's voice interrupted her thoughts. Jada quickly wiped her eyes. "What is it, Layla?" "I just wanted to check on you," Layla said, her voice gentle. "You've been carrying a lot lately." Jada forced a smile. "I'm fine, really." Layla hesitated before stepping closer. "It's okay to ask for help,
The turning
you know.
point came
You
during
don't
a
have to do
community
this
event
alone."
Jada hosted
Jada
to
looked
celebrate
at her,
the bakery's
her walls
anniversary.
beginning to crack. The bakery was
Thanks,
filled with
Layla.
customers,
I needed that
neighbors, and
reminder.
friends, all gathered to share stories, laughter, and delicious treats. As Jada mingled with the crowd, an elderly woman approached her with a warm smile. "Are you Jada?" the woman asked. "Yes, I am," Jada replied. The woman took her hand. "I just wanted to thank you. This place, it's more than a bakery. It's a safe haven. You've created something truly special." Jada felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Thank you, that means more than you know." Later that evening, Jada sat on the bakery's patio, watching the lights twinkle in the trees. Eric joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You seem peaceful," he said, handing her a cup. "I think I finally understand what this place is all about," Jada said softly. "It's not just about the food or the business. It's about the people, the connections, the memories. That's what makes it special," Eric smiled. "You've built something amazing, Jada, and the best part is, you've done it your way." As they sat together under the stars, Jada felt a profound sense of gratitude. The journey had been anything but easy, but every challenge had shaped her into the person she was today. A person who turned struggles into strength and dreams into reality. Years had passed since Jada first opened the doors to Jada's Haven. The bakery had become more than just a thriving business. It was a symbol of resilience, kindness, and community. Jada's journey from a hard-working waitress to a successful entrepreneur was now the stuff of local legend, inspiring countless people to chase their own dreams. But with every milestone reached, Jada felt a deeper pull to give back even more. In 2006, Jada felt a deeper pull to give back even more. She began to wonder, how could she take her mission of kindness to the next level? One afternoon, as Jada sat in her office going over plans for an upcoming charity bake sale, Marcus walked in. He was now a confident teenager, taller than her, with an infectious smile. "Hey sis," he said, holding up an envelope. "Guess what?" Jada raised an eyebrow. "What is it this time?" Marcus handed her the envelope, grinning. Inside was a letter from a prestigious university offering him a full scholarship to their engineering program. Jada gasped. "Marcus, this is incredible!" Marcus nodded. "I couldn't have done it without you. You always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." Tears filled Jada's eyes as she hugged him tightly. "You've earned this, Marcus. I'm so proud of you." As Marcus left the room, Jada sat quietly, her mind racing. She realized how much her support had meant to him, and it sparked an idea that would change her path yet again. The next day, Jada called Eric to discuss her vision. "I want to start a foundation," she said. Eric leaned back in his chair, intrigued. "A foundation? For what?" "For people like me," Jada explained. "For the dreamers, the workers, the ones who just need a little help to get started. I want to create opportunities for people who have the talent and the passion, but not the resources." Eric's face lit up with admiration. "That's a beautiful idea, Jada. What do you need to make it happen?" "A lot of planning," Jada admitted. "But if I've learned anything from running this bakery, it's that big things start with small steps."